So there's the dollar store drip irrigation system at work. But each one drips differently. So this one is letting out more than this one. And the ones near the beginning of the system are letting out way more. I don't even know if these ones at the end are doing anything at all.
Oh, so it doesn't
there.
hold onto the stuff.
And I don't see any. Oh, no, that one's dripping at the end. I don't know if you can see that. It's dripping. So the one at the end is dripping a lot. That one's not dripping. So, I don't know. Anyway. And one over at this end is doing a lot more than dripping. So I hope that plant will suck up a lot of
Hey, you won't want to run it too long, I don't think, eh?
Well,
to get moldy, or?
I'm going to time it and see how wet these ones get over the course of a half an hour. And anyway.
So which ones are what here? What is this?
The first one there is celery with turmeric and black pepper.
Okay.
And this one is yellow bell pepper.
Because I don't want to have a big orange mustache that'll make me look like a weird version of Ronald McDonald, I'll just have this. How's that sound?
You do whatever you want.
So we're going to be talking about a huge whack of movies and other media?
And I'll just put them away.
Are you going to talk about learn to brew the best possible beer with less work first?
No, not first.
Because I'm looking at the pictures of the authors back there. They look like fun drugs. No, talk about it later. It's just...
They do look like they have a lot of fun producing their product. And
sampling it.
And producing this book. So they have these funny pictures of themselves throughout the book, making.
They look like a great comedy.
It's usually this guy. He's the major extrovert of the partnership. Although they both are, they'd both be well into that yellow zone. And
do you think they got a TV show? They look as though they'd be hilarious.
But if you flip through it, you'll see they have different expressions for some reason all through it. It's just they had a lot of fun putting that together. So I think anybody would have a lot of fun reading it. It's too bad James just noticed it now, because
it's going back pretty soon, isn't it?
Well, I could keep it out for you if you want to go. James doesn't even drink alcohol.
No, but it's been a long time.
Anyway.
Maybe almost 10 years since I drank a very small amount of alcohol just as a social gesture.
But honestly, beer is so easy to make. I don't know if you need a book. I've shown you how easy it is to make wine, and beer is easier. So, but yeah, I would recommend that book just for, as you can see, James is amused.
It's great. So. They've got a comedy team. But it's just in still pictures. Like I said, I'd love to see these guys on TV. I think you can make a movie, a beer making movie.
So there you go. That one is recommended, even by James, just flipping through this right now.
I could care less about beer.
Simon and Louise, or probably Simon.
Et Louise, yeah.
Because this was first published in French. And I can understand why it was put out in the adult section for, even though it's not, these people are young, and probably in France, this was a Canadian publication, or maybe not originally, but see?
Canada Council of the Arts. Canada.
So,
Nova Scotia?
I'm guessing maybe from Nova Scotia. Maybe from Cape Breton or something. I don't know.
It could be. There's a place down at St. Mary's Bay, down by Briar Island, that's kind of like on the other side of the bay, where there's it looks as though there's a strong Acadian component. And then, of course, as you go down to Briar Island.
Be? Would that be towards that, would that be in Long Island there?
Okay, so you got Nova Scotia.
You said it's not at Briar Island, it's on the way, so would it be Long Island?
Well, it's across the bay, so I guess you didn't hear what I was saying.
Oh.
So there's, you know how you got those peninsulas and islands and stuff like that?
Mm.
They're separated from the mainland of Nova Scotia by a bay, that's St. Mary's Bay. So if you go across that bay, you'll find a scattered French-Canadian community, at least in terms of the names. And then, of course, if you go up, you know, that bay, I believe, I won't say that, but if you go a little bit further, the end of the bay, and then just jump across past Digby, you come to Annapolis Royal and stuff like that. That's traditionally where the Acadians were located, right? So in that general area, like the western part.
Oh, I'm not being cruel to James here with this juice. I already drank mine. And anyway, okay.
So yeah, there's they even have a
in...
university.
Okay.
It would be very small, right, with a library and stuff like that. Yeah, down in that area around Annapolis.
But at one point, like these guys, they're just young teenagers. I don't even know how old. It doesn't say how old they are, but they're obviously fairly young, and because the adults are bigger than them and stuff like that, right? So in the drawings, but there's some sort of like the one girl gets felt up by like sort of boyfriend, not even a boyfriend, just some casual sort of person she's hanging out with, right? And she starts crying because and she doesn't even want to be there. So anyway, there's that sort of stuff going on. But then there's other things, like this boy, he runs away to go try to find her because they had been dating, and she's off in, I think it was 2 places in France that were mentioned, maybe 3. So it's supposed to be set in France, I think. I will, just a minute. I will talk about these places. I should have bookmarked them so I would know. Montpellier.
Okay. That's a place in France.
And, well, anyway.
Unfortunately, there's some duplication of names. It's not as bad as it is here. Like Edmonton, I think, is a place in the northern part of England,
well, the other place might be
Calgary is
too.
Toronto was not transplanted from England. Lethbridge is not so much a place name, it's Grand Prairie is a French name, locale. I don't think that was brought over from France.
Oh, and also the boy was worried that this guy was going to molest him, that he was hitchhiking from, and he punched him in the nose. There's like some adult material here, but or like for what we're used to. Yeah. But the most mature material you will find on page 46 and 47 when they're, well, actually before then, when the guy's talking about where is it? Oh yeah, he's talking about on 46. So when he's talking about the slaughtering the sheep who had run away, and this is how the hitchhiking boy meets another boy, and then he had to catch a sheep that was running away because the sheep knew something was afoot, and so he caught the sheep, and the 2 boys went back to where the guy was, where the father was, and then they were gonna slaughter the sheep and eat the sheep. It got slaughtered. It totally did. So in this,
I like the way it's got the eye though.
Exactly, and it's crying right as the knife is coming to it. So it has some adult material here, and it's fairly realistically done. It has the boy afterwards who was hitchhiking. He's not accustomed to this sort of thing, and he goes outside and pukes when the sheep is getting slaughtered. And so anyway, I think if a child is going to eat meat, they should know where it comes from. I learned that when I was a little kid, And my father-in-law, he kept telling me, we were taught never to have the children near slaughter. It'd make them tough.
That was
It'd make them aggressive. That's your
That's my
dad.
dad. Mm-hmm.
And I would repeatedly tell him, well, I was there, and this is how I turned out. You know, if people aren't there, then they never really know. And
yeah, like my dad was kind of like talking tough, but we used to keep chickens, and he'd slaughtered the chickens, and for months afterwards he couldn't eat chicken, so he wasn't toughened up that much by it. But my
if you're gonna eat
experience
it, you
was
should
similar
be able to
to Pauline. In my first 5 years, when we were in Africa, I heard the sound of a pig getting slaughtered, and it still kind of haunts me. So it sounds like a human getting killed. So that's what got to you too, I think, right? But it was multiple pigs?
What got to me? I don't know. I need to write down the whole experience, because it was
There must have been
really traumatic.
Oh, yeah.
I think I was 4 years old. And,
yeah, I would have been about 4.
And it really, I mean, up until that point, I didn't know.
No.
I didn't know what was going on. You know, like, we'd take the pigs, and they'd go up a chute, and then I didn't know where they went from there. You know, we'd transport them, and they'd go. And then I'd be wanting to pet them and stuff, and the people inside, they'd say, no, you can't touch them because they'll hurt you, you know, and this and that.
Oh, they would know something was wrong. But you were friends with your pigs initially, right?
Yeah, but I wasn't allowed to be near the boars.
No.
But anyway.
But they eventually recognized that you were part of the clan that killed them
after that day.
They never hung with you again, right? They're pretty smart, I'm afraid. So.
Anyway, so I'll talk about. You talk about this one, Dennis.
Did you even bother watching?
No, I didn't.
I watched it twice
some stuff
through.
That
Actually,
you didn't.
The first time I watched
Dennis.
I used to like Dennis Miller when he was on Saturday Night Live. Didn't see that much of Saturday Night Live, and then but I used to like him when he did the news. And then when he, what did he do after that? Something, I can't remember. I used to like him, you know, kind of a cynical view on things. As he says in this show, he says, I used to be liberal. Yeah, I used to be. And I can remember we got hold of one a while back, 5 years back, and we were laughing, and then all of a sudden, you know, it was just, wow, yeah. Joking about things that a rich guy should maybe be joking about. But I kind of got used to it. I find the stuff kind of funny. What's this thing called fake news, real jokes? And the stuff is, they made sure it was a captive audience, like Knoxville, Tennessee, you know, so, you know, there's not going to be too many hecklers in the crowd or stuff like that. I think it was not a potted audience. I think it was a real audience and not a fake audience. But yeah, I find this stuff not so much funny, but I find it informative. I mean, he has some points. I mean, there's a lot of craziness on the left wing. There's a lot of craziness on the right wing, and unfortunately, he's not in the middle. I was kind of sitting there. I can't say I'm really in the middle of this craziness, because to be in the middle of craziness is craziness. But I kind of sit outside of it and just look at this stupidity, this dysfunctional stupidity. And both sides are too busy calling each other names to actually get down and find out where they're wrong and where they're right. So generally my sympathies lie with the left wing, but not the crazy left wing, stupid stuff. I don't, you know, I have no sympathy for right wingers, and then there's stupid right winger stuff. I mean, crazy stuff. Both sides basically don't believe much in democracy anymore, so it might plague on both their houses.
Okay, so then I'll talk about this one. I couldn't stand this movie. This was
Nicolas Cage. Have we put him on a watch?
Inconceivable.
That is Nicky there, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage, and he has not done anything I've been impressed with in a long
Since Raising
time.
Arizona, maybe.
But anyway, this one's about woman who gets away from her abusive past, and she ends up being a surrogate. And first she's a babysitter for the friend, and then this friend is really wealthy and wants a baby. So it turns out that it's a big soap opera. But anyway, it deals with custody rights of mothers or parents in general, who should get the custody. And this movie is really unrealistic, and it leaves you with the impression that the surrogate mothers shouldn't have the right. She's in this movie, they're making it out like she's she is in this movie. She's a murderer. She's a this. She's a that, and she's just out to get this couple, and it's just really unrealistic. It's more believable that a wealthy couple, would make up this sort of story about a surrogate, and so that they can get her locked up and keep her away from her child, frankly. Yeah, I couldn't stand that movie at all, and I wouldn't even like this movie if I were in a position where I were wealthy and hired out some woman's womb and eggs for the job. It's just kind of disgusting. So anyway, Van Wilder, freshman year, was
What you expected from the cover.
exactly what I expected.
So you got a lot of sleep, a few laughs.
I read. So
There we go.
I got a lot of reading done.
Yeah. I do like the dog though in the cap, backwards cap.
Yes.
You did notice the dog in the movie, or was it just in the cover?
Yes, the dog has a major part in the movie.
Well, yeah. Now I'm
Yeah.
willing to bet he eats burgers and lets
He
loose.
eats a lot of things in the movie.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's terribly offensive.
Well, yeah.
When a guy
It's-
like I've read, some people saying, "Oh yeah, it's exciting when a guy grabs the back of your head when you're giving him a blowjob and does this." No, that's when that's I don't know who would, only the person that's making only the person whose hands that's the only person or the only people that are interested or that think that's a great thing. That's very that's a really awful thing to do to
It's a
somebody. It's
bum-headed move,
not
yeah.
sexy. And
It's something
honestly,
Charlie Sheen might do, right?
he shows off a few different interesting positions and stuff to teach the class, a sex education class, and
Is that what he is? He's like a prop
No.
or something? Oh.
he's not.
He's an outside consultant.
But honestly, that sort of thing is like young teenage boys who are interested in watching pornography and interested in watching different positions and stuff like that would be interested in this movie. But really, a woman's going to be more excited in the long term, not with how many numbers of different positions and things like that you've learned from watching pornography or whatever. It's going to be, the proof is in the pudding. If you can get the job done, then really it's once you grow up, you realize it's what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and vice versa. And if it's not fair and equal, she might not be coming back for round 3, 4, 10, 100. Who knows, right? Eventually she's going to say, that's it. That's enough of that. I can satisfy myself in about 3 minutes, so why would I bother? You know? So, anyway, it does not get well rated from me.
So you figure it's not even for university students? It's
No,
it's
for young guys who watch porn, who are sneaking around doing it. I can't even imagine, anybody past the age of 13 would be interested in that.
Okay, well.
Yeah.
Even an old dog like that Dave Hound, he looks like Donald Trump there in the cat, the bulldog.
Anyway, this movie, however, this one was excellent.
Oh, Liam Neeson,
excellent. I was so happy to watch that movie. It was spooky, and it had a very different twist. It's watching the whole movie, it's absolutely a movie for and by my generation, because it's kind of creepy and in a I don't know how to describe it. My generation is kind of an oddball generation, and there's this death sexiness, like embracing. It's weird generation, I'll just say that. So anyway, if you're from my generation, you'll totally get this. And well, like I said, it'd have to be a subgroup of the generation that I'm from that would get this. So the same kind of people who would be interested in watching Hellboy and stuff like that would understand this, or Nightmare Before Christmas, or pretty much anything that Tim Burton did. So, and I love Christina Ricci. Very good to see her again.
She too thin in this one?
She's an okay size. I actually liked her best in Sleepy Hollow when she was kind of chubby. I like that.
Well, according to Days Turns,
yeah. I thought she.
And then somewhere
really
along
good.
the line, someone whipped her into what they thought was shape.
She needed to get jobs.
Yeah, I know, isn't that sad?
And this is what people want.
Well, she's got a round face, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes people misinterpret that as being overweight. So.
Anyway, the movie you don't really know for sure. You can't really know for sure if the guy at the funeral home is a serial killer, or if he actually if he communicates with spirits after they're dead. You don't know. You have suspicions, but you can't say for sure. And they're making a kind of political sort of point about people in this, that it's very worth watching. That's one of the best things I've watched in a while. So
you've heard of serial killers? What do you call GMO corn?
Huh?
Killer cereal.
Oh, where'd you get that joke?
I just made it up.
You just made it up.
We might be able to write a book called Killer Cereal.
Well, maybe somebody will now.
There we go.
It's on the camera. We'll see. But please give us credit. Or James. He came up with it. Survival hacks. Now this one is more pictures than it is text. It looks thick. It's really not. You can go through this in an hour. Not long. But it has interesting things in here. I found, like, here's one that I bookmarked to show you. Pop can fishing kit. That's page 114. Interesting. Now these two books I'm going to talk about. This one here is really not, it's not a great recipe book. A lot of the things are just basic things that you've come across before. she does cook with meat in this, but I'm not against that for a recipe book. I use recipe books that call for meat or not. I just make things my own way anyway. It's just inspiration mostly. So I did bookmark a few things that are worth mentioning in here, but most of the recipes are pretty plain Jane. I was impressed by the fact that even though this is a recipe book that does have meaty recipes, there's a whole, most of the recipes do not. So she's actually making some pretty healthy things. A lot of it is dressing, or salads with good dressings. Like page 84, I have cold soba noodles with cucumber and ginger sesame dressing marked. It would taste good. It's pretty basic.
Ginger
I mean, it's
sesame, you think that would go together? But
yeah,
sesame doesn't have much of a taste, does it?
No, it's great. Anyway, page 99, lentil and wheat berry salad with strawberries and mint. It sounds all right. It's usually when you eat strawberries in a salad, it's good with balsamic vinegar. And she puts in Dijon mustard and a little EV oil with that. It'd be good.
It looks good.
Yeah, it does. It looks very attractive. 107, springtime apple and fennel slaw with dried apricots and pistachios.
So they don't show it put together, but they show the ingredients.
A lot of the time in this she doesn't. She'll just have, I'll show you. I think she has a lot of recipes that she'd already come up with and she didn't feel like, you know, when she was putting together the recipe book, she didn't feel like putting all these, making them into stuff, right? So she put
that's
the
what
ingredients,
she's doing,
right?
okay.
Yeah. It actually makes sense if you
It'd
don't
be
take
expensive,
pictures
I
of your stuff as you're making it, as you're going on. So yeah, it's a pretty basic recipe, but this slaw it has some interesting twists. I mean, the dried apricots and the pistachios, and then the licoricey flavor of the fennel, and lime juice in the salad dressing. It's kind of different.
It looks awesome, though.
Yeah.
It'd be expensive, but
oh sure.
the pistachio.
Yep. So I marked those, but this one I wouldn't recommend. Both of these are pretty standard recipe books, but this one I would choose over this one, even though it's made for mothers or expecting mothers. I'll just move that there. And I made this today, actually, the Moroccan carrot salad with lemon tahini dressing on page 70. Only I didn't do it quite like that. I couldn't understand why a person would go to the work of cutting their carrots into, julienning their carrots for the salad when you can just grate it. So I grated it. And
julienne with little stick fingers?
Yeah. And I didn't understand what the point was of putting the lemon cut into quarters into the salad itself. It didn't make any sense to me. So that did not happen.
I got to tell you, the julienne...
Or the garlic cloves. I put them in the dressing. So there's 2 in the salad itself and then 1 in the dressing. I just put them all in the dressing because it didn't make sense to me to go to this work of preheating the oven and this and that, and none of that. I didn't do that. So
that's to go in a salad.